Good, we were able to transform our script, which was built using functions, and we created a class and put those functions inside that class, so they are now called methods. And while this is a use of a class, it's still not the best use of object-oriented programming paradigm, because we have a database here, a database object that is being created, but we are not treating it as a solid object. So we are opening it and closing it in every method. So what I'm thinking is we create a connection when we call the class, so when this function is executed, we create a connection there and we keep that connection opened. So I don't include this close method there, but I'll leave the commit method in case there is no table, and a table will be created and the changes will be committed to the open connection. Now, because we have a connection open there, we don't need to establish a new one in each method. And we don't even need to create a cursor object, because the cursor object is being created in here. So we get rid of those two lines in every single method. So in view we have a cursor object when we go here and then we execute this statement to that cursor object, so that is good. Then we go down here, these two as well, and for the delete method and update as well. Great. Now let's see how this goes. Let me make this closer. So we call the frontend script where we are creating an instance of our object. So far so good. View all. And it says that name cur is not defined in line 17. So we executed the view method, and what the view method does is it tries to find a variable, a declared variable inside the function. So the cur variable, it doesn't find it, so then it looks if there is a variable outside the function, and it doesn't find it. Actually, there is a variable that has been declared in this init function, but this is a local variable. So this has value only inside this function. So you cannot access this outside of the init function. But if we refer to the self argument, which is the database object, and see what we get. Let me close this. Save. That works, and view all, and now we get another type of error, and it says attribute error. So let me close this. So look carefully here, and it says a database object has no attribute cur, and that's in line 17, so this one here. And the database object, this one is this one here. So self has been replaced by database, which is the object created by this class, and this is an attribute of this object. And to fix that, we need to create an attribute there. So we say self.cursor equals to connection.cursor. So the cursor method of the connection object of the SQLite 3 library. Now if we try again the code, it says name cur is not defined in line 8. So now that we created an attribute, this is trying to find the variable cur, so the local variable cur, which is not in this function, because now this is an attribute of the class. So that means we need to refer to self here as well, so to the object, and then cur execute and so on. So if we try this now, view all, we get another line, cur is not defined in line 18. So here, that means you need to do the same, and we don't have any cur variable anymore. We have the cur attribute. So now if I run this again, I'll get probably an error about the connection this time. The con variable. Con is not defined in line 19. So again, this view function is trying to find the variable con connection. So self commit there and here as well. So you declare the attribute there, and there you commit the changes down here. And self connection close. So that looks good now. Rows equals to this, so rows is just a local variable that is created here, and then we return the fetched rows from this expression. So this method returns this when it is being called in this script just here. Good. And yeah, let me try what we have at this point. Line 7, name con is not defined. Oh yeah, we need to do the same for these two, and everything looks good now. So let's try again. Yeah, view all, and now we get the data there. But when I press it for the second time, we get yet another error. And so it says cannot operate on a closed database. So why is that? Well, I pressed the view button once and this method was executed, so the cursor object was able to fetch this data, and then we closed the connection and returned the rows. So we are able to get those 3 rows there. But then when I press the view button for a second time, the view method faces a closed connection. So that's why you get this cannot operate on a closed database error. So, and see what we get. So view all, it's working well. Yep. That means we can go ahead and modify the other methods. So self cursor and self connection, and remove this close. Let's think about closing the connection later on, so don't focus on that now. Just try to make these methods work. Self here, self there, and there. Again for the delete method, and yep, remove the connection close. And everything should work fine at this point. So let's see, view all. Yeah, this is working. Let's search for something. Let's see, and search entry. Oh, we got one cursor there. So cur is not defined in search. Oh yeah. Sorry. Okay, again, view all. See search entry, and yet another name error. Name rows is not defined. Oh, so by mistake I converted this local variable to an attribute. So rows here, rows there. Okay, one more time. View all, and now it seems to be working. So let's add some data. Add entry there, and cannot operate on a closed database. Oh, why? Because in the search method we have a closed database, so we close the database there, and I overlooked that. So we don't have any more close methods there, no. So let's try one more time then. Sorry about that. Add entry, and now it seems to be working fine. Great. So everything looks good except of we don't have the close method anymore, because we can't keep that method in the methods of our class, because you saw that when we have that method there and we end up with this error. Or you can leave the code without a close method, but you'd end up with some problems later, because if you have some methods that have not been committed, then when another program connects to your database, and then this data will be committed with the next operation. So it messes some things up sometimes. So as a rule, you should close the connection. And to do that, there is another special method that you can add to your class. Like this one here, but this other one is for destructing your object. And that is called del. So for delete. And this also gets the object instance as a parameter. So this method is applied, is executed when you call an instance of the class, like we're doing in the front-end script, just here. While this one here, this is executed when this instance is deleted from the script, which happens to be when the script is exited. So before the script exits, this method will be executed. And what we want to do here is self.connection.close. So that should do the trick. Now if we try out this, we should get the same results. So I added this by mistake, but anyway, so let's see, you can search for that and you get the rows with that particular value. So this is my solution, and there's no standard way to write a script, so there may be other alternatives to solve this problem, so to build this application. So you may also choose to add a method there or here in the graphical user interface. So you could do something like you add a button, like commit button, and then here you add another method called commit, and then you remove probably all these commit methods from these methods, from the methods of your SQLite operations, and then you put that method, so one method commit, inside that commit method of your class. So when the user presses commit, then you commit the changes to the database. So that would be another solution, but this is what we came up with in this particular case. So I hope you understand a few things now. And this is rarely used, so normally you only have to use init and then the other methods. But this is appropriate when you want to apply something just before exiting the program. So that's great, and in the next lecture I will write another class. So we will think about how to model a problem which is about creating some sort of bank account object where we store a balance of money. Then we withdraw and deposit money to this balance. Now, as an exercise, you can convert this script, so the Tkinter part of the program, the front end, into an object-oriented form. So you put this inside a class and try to come up with a good solution. I'll also provide you a solution to this, but before that I'd like you to try out yourself, so you practice object-oriented programming a little bit. Yeah, that's good. With that, I'll see you in the next lecture.